I had $8 in a bin in the room. How come it's only $2 left of that change that I put in that bin? You stole from me, bro. We supposed to be living together and you stole from me. I had $8 worth of change, and now all I got is 8 quarters. And you trying to walk around trying to play victim. Nigga, you can move out, nigga. You thief. And it can be whatever it's gonna be.
I'm gonna let you know, it never was an issue between us. And stop going on these social medias, talking crazy and switching the story up, nigga.
Niggas wanna throw my dishes around like a little instead of knocking on my door letting me know they got an issue with me. Look at him in there. Look at him. Look at him. Running in his room. Talking about he beat me up. I fought that nigga. I fought him. Go get your pistol.
The stream category.
Go get your pistol. Wanna shoot me? Look, he got his gun.
These two men are about to reach the climax of a quarrel that's been going on for 2 months. They've been going back and forth with each other, smashing dishes, throwing things, shouting at each other through their doors, and dissing each other on social media, despite both of them being in the same room. The lanky one claims that the baldy isn't solid.
You not solid. You not solid.
And the baldy, who goes by Gunna Shicur, claims that the lanky one is a thief.
You thief. And it can be whatever it's gonna be.
One fabled day, a saga of 2 unknown tenants, watched by literally tens of millions, all came to a head on the Boxing Day of 2025. And despite Gunna Shicur getting his noggin walloped several times over, their dispute still carries on to this very day, and it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon. Why am I talking about this? Well, this saga has been seen by a lot of people, over 32 million to be more specific. To put that into perspective, that's more viewers than the first and last season of The Walking Dead.
And the strange thing is, this falling out all began over a measly $6. Actually, $6 in coins. I began to question why so many people were intrigued by this, and other things like what really got us to this moment in time, and why do they have so much hate for each other. Let's go through this story and more, seeing what led us to this explosive meeting, trying to answer questions along the way such as who is Gunna Shicur and why is he so popular, who won, who was in the wrong, and what's Gunna Shicur's message in this investigation into what I call the Gunna Shicur Chronicles.
See, you fail to realize I got 100,000 people watching. All got skeletons in our closet. 8 quarters? What, you got your tampon?
You gonna keep it all the way you
Do
be.
you know who I am?
No.
But they just want to see me fold. I ain't got no problem with you. This nigga acting like my ex-girlfriend that wasn't me back, y'all. That's why y'all be mad, yeah.
There's no better place to start than the beginning of it all, the start of Gunna's Instagram, where we see that the first post is on the 4th of March 2013. Just a selfie with hair, yet he has a missing tooth, so this wasn't a result of the beef.
Before we go further up, I want to mention that Gunna Shicur was pretty much a nobody before the dispute occurred. He had maybe a few hundred followers, but he 1,000 times his follower count in a month pretty much.
As we go up, we get to see what was seemingly his passion and or job, rapping. There's dozens of posts of him rapping, mostly freestyles, but there's a few music videos and flyers for clubs, most of them being open mic though. I doubt that he would have got paid much being a rapper, if at all, as 9 of the 11 club flyers that I saw were open mic, and he didn't get very many views on YouTube too. Despite that, he isn't a half bad rapper, better than Pretty Boy Glow and Lil Ma. He's up there with Jumoney in terms of rap ability.
At one point, shit, I thought I was next to blow. Then I seen the game shift and I picked and rolled. Dipped in gold, now everybody wrist is froze. The price was cheap, but you done one and sold your soul. Been stuck enough, shit, I'm just trying to seize control, achieve my goals, but they just wanna see me fold. I paid the toll, so I can go and bathe and roll. That page is old, shit, all my open cases closed.
From the flyer too, we get his actual name, which is Teron Shicur.
The next thing that I picked out was what I thought to be a photo of Teron in drag. It's not a terrible assumption to make without the context, but it's actually his mother. I've never seen anyone look so much like their mother in my life.
Speaking of lookalikes, I think Teron has an extremely stark resemblance to a very religious man, a reverend who speaks his sermons on the mountaintops, Mr.
Cut that bitch off!
Reverend X. Vincent Stewart might be his old man, who knows. Anyways, moving on from that, we see that the rap career wasn't quite panning out for Teron as he starts his nursing qualifications at the end of May 2017.
Yeah, what y'all know about leveling up. I had to level up. This is my kitchen. I'm in a nursing home now. So whenever they tell you you can't, make sure you prove them wrong, all right? And I just got my certificate of completion. I can work at any nursing home in the United States. You feel me? Yeah, signed and sealed. You feel me?
He's also living in North Carolina at this point, not his home city of Philly. You can see from the certificate that Teron's last name isn't actually Shicur, it begins with a B, rather than an S, and his first name doesn't quite look like Terran either. From my guess, his surname is actually Bethea, and that opens quite a few doors for us in terms of finding out who he really is. Considering that the certificate was from North Carolina and Terran's parents are seemingly from there via some Facebook family digging, alongside the multiple videos with his mother on his page, it will be safe to assume that he was living with his parents at this point, not with the lanky man.
A few posts later, we get Terron's birthday, which is the 11th of July. And considering he talks about how it's good to be in his 30s, it's fair to assume that he'll be 30 at this point, which would make the birth year 1987.
Terran's rap career still carries on alongside his nursing, still doing mostly freestyles, and we might be able to get a bit of what Terran's message is from this. He raps a lot about women and working hard without falling victim to the streets. This opinion of disdain for the streets and knocking those who do follow that route will carry on throughout his entire page.
Y'all niggas can have the streets. If you can't show me no bank statements, and if you can't stay out of jail, you a casualty. We ain't glorifying the street life no more.
And it's safe to say that Terran doesn't live a criminal lifestyle and spites those that do.
Moving on to something slightly more interesting, which we had to skip 3 years for to 2021, we see that he's still making club appearances, but this time it's at a stripper's. He does this weird dance, it almost looks like a mating ritual. He gets on stage and dances with her, and he goes as far as to get down on all fours. Very strange. I thought it was fucking hilarious when I first saw it.
The final thing that we get until 2025 also occurs around this time. Gunna Shicur seemingly moves into the House of Drama, which is telling by this hallway area where Terran films some smackhead, which is exactly where the pistol whippage will occur.
In this house, he seems to be living in the basement in some shithole dungeon, Verdansk-esque. You can barely call it a stable room, there's so many holes in the wall. He's in this dungeon for roughly 2 years, as he pushes his rapping career aside to focus on his nursing, so he can get a better, more stable source of income.
I think that this is mostly due to the birth of his child, giving him a reason to actually buck his ideas up and provide for someone that isn't himself. The lanky one from the start also lives in this house, but above the dungeon in a half-decent room where the walls are actually intact. He is seen in quite a few pictures throughout Gunna's Instagram, but for the life of me, I couldn't find a name. I went through likes and Gunna's following to try and find the man, but nothing arose. He does call the lanky one his blood, so I am certain that they are cousins of some sort.
There's exactly a 25% chance each for the lanky one's surname to be Bethea or Thomas. Bethea and Thomas are the two familial name of Terron's parents, and the chance of an auntie splits that to 50% unknown, aka being something that isn't Bethea or Thomas.
Anyways, that's the first picture that he shows us of the gaff, but I think he would have moved to Philly even earlier than that, given that he has a few music videos in the Philly underground and takes quite a few pictures with the lanky one on Facebook around 2019. These dates will be key later on in order to find a timeline of events from the lanky one's point of view. That, of course, concludes the backstory of Gunna Shicur pretty much.
He started his Instagram at the age of 25, so there's quite a lot of backstory that we just cannot get to see. He does mention in a freestyle that he is a 2-time felon.
A 2-time felon, nigga, I don't just rap shit, I've been a bad boy, y'all just tell him to take that.
But I couldn't find any major crimes relating to Terran Bethea.
Right then, we get into 2025 where the feud begins. Terran's style of post changes around this time. Instead of posting pics in Mexico, he starts ranting about whatever really. They're more like ramblings at the start. One's about work, not portraying false pride, caring for family, and so on.
I bet you putting that cheese on my burger, ain't you? Yeah, do your job. So now in my mind, I'm like, wow, I see what's going on. It's really a spiritual battle out here. Niggas is really fighting demons. Get on the bus, like on some bully shit. And I'm like, bro, you got it. I ain't got no problem with you. It ain't about being pussy. It's about being smart. Be right away.
Bonk! There's one topic that constantly recurs throughout, the topic of black excellence and needing a togetherness within the black community.
How come my black folk get these government and these city jobs and automatically assume they accepted by the white man? That's a prime example of black men loving on each other. You made me crack, bro. That's a prime example of black men loving on each other. Shout out to my people. See what we can do when we stick together. I just want to give thanks. You feel me? Because we all we got.
I understand the message in practice, but Terran himself doesn't actually practice this well at all, as we will see a bit later on.
Most of the rants around this time are pretty boring, being late 2025 post-August, but there's one in particular that stands out, and it makes me question the character of Mr. Shicur.
Have a look for yourselves.
If y'all don't shut the fuck up about these Epstein files, first of all, we all done did some shit we not proud of. We all got skeletons in our closet, and we all gonna take some shit to our grave. So what make you think it's okay for you to air another motherfucker's dirty laundry just because it might be out there? Your shit is still a secret. That's the only reason why y'all so cool with airing a motherfucker's dirty laundry. That shit's not cool. Those are rat traits.
Defending a nonce is ridiculous behaviour to say the very least, but there's three main things I want to hone in on here. The idea of ratting, which contrasts his pride of not being in the streets, the collective noun, we, and the understated severity of the files.
And
We have done some shit like this that we'll take to the grave. If you mix the last two together, it makes me become suspicious of Gunna as a person, because it makes me think that he thinks that noncing isn't that bad. It holds the same weight as any other crime, given the context of the clip and the use of the word we, which suggests that we, including Mr. Bethea, have done some shit we're not proud of, to use his own words. It's giving off a sort of vibe that tells me he may have committed some sort of sexual crime that he's downplaying to be something minor, just a skeleton in the closet. Nothing that bad, is it, Taran? It's a reach, but that's what I can grasp from the tone, context, and the downplaying of something so horrifically bad. This is the only real suspicious thing that Taran has stated so far. Anyways, moving on from that, we get to the start of the drama between the two cousins on the 7th of November 2025. Six doubloons is where it all starts, and cereal in the fridge.
since niggas want to walk around like they got an attitude, right? I had $8 in a bin in the room. How come it's only $2 left of that change that I put in that bin? I know how much money I had, bro. You want to walk around with attitude? Now I'm calling you out. You stole from me, bro. We supposed to be living together and you stole from me. I had $8 worth of change, and now all I got is 8 quarters. You snooping around in the room looking for my bud, bro. I know how I put my shit, bro. Yeah, we can't live together, and it can be what it's gonna be. If you don't leave, I'm leaving. And I've been quiet the whole week, laughing in y'all faces. And nigga, you been snaking me. And you trying to walk around trying to play victim. Nigga, you can move out. Thief. Niggas stealing from me. We supposed to be coexisting and getting this money together. And you got the nerve to act like I'm doing something to you? You putting cereal, who puts the cereal box back in the refrigerator? Nigga, throw the whole shit out.
To be fair, who in their right mind puts cereal in the fridge? He soon enough shows us that change jar which the lanky one supposedly stole from 20 days after the initial incident. I used AI to predict the amount of change in the jar, and it predicted $12. It said that the heavy presence of pennies lowers the value of the jar. Lol. Anyhows, this is how it all begins. The lanky one steals $6 and change from Terran's savings. This video is Terran's first taste of virality, seeing that the video got over 1 million views, and those numbers went to his head pretty quickly, which is on clear display on the 1st of December. We see that effect happen slightly earlier though, in a reel where he starts hating on broke people, despite the fact that about a year ago he was living in a derelict dungeon from hell because he couldn't afford a decent room.
You know why I stopped hanging with broke motherfuckers? Because they always get mad because you got money. I don't want to hear no lecture from a motherfucker that's still living at home with their parents, because you still haven't figured out life yet. So how the fuck is you gonna give somebody like me some advice? How come broke niggas always talk the most shit but can't never find solutions to their pockets being fucked up? Stop trying to find excuses for being broke. Don't nobody give a fuck about you being a real nigga. And stop beefing with broke niggas too, especially niggas that can't even stay the fuck out of jail. Niggas mad they broke. I bet you living check to check. I can't even walk the streets comfortably anymore. I'm popping too much. I gotta come straight in the house now because I'm scared that a hating ass nigga with no motivation might kill me. It be the broke niggas that's always in your fucking comments, and the ones that got 100 followers. Listen, if you can't show me no bank statement or a pay stub, stay out my DM and out my comments, yo.
To further justify his hatred, I suppose, he tells us that he works very hard to not be broke on the 30th of November.
Does everybody work the same? No. I work. I take life serious. I grossed $20,000 off a $13 an hour salary within a 10-month span. Do the math, man.
Right, if you say so, I will do the maths. $20,000 over 13 tells us how many hours he worked, which is 1539 roughly. To get how much he worked a week, let's say 4 weeks in a month, 10 months of work, which is 40 weeks. Then you do 1539 over 40 to get how many hours he worked a week, which is about 38.5, which is less than full time. He worked less than full time, and he probably took some paid vacation during that time as well. So he didn't work that hard to not be broke, yet
he is still seemingly broke. But to be fair to the bloke, he does seem to provide for his son in the best way you can, be that on weekends only. Yet still, he's making nearly, well, more than $10 less than the living wage in Philly, which is $24 an hour. So for him to be hating on broke people would factually be an ironic statement. What goes with that, Teron being broke, is a video of him eating what I can only describe to be human food. It's food that looks like it's meant to be eaten by humans. So if he's eating food for humans, then surely he's broke.
The drama is yet to continue in the early days of December, but we do see something rather strange, to put it lightly. Just have a look.
What? Say that again?
Welcome to Wendy's. What can I get for you?
Almost 2 million views. Thank you so much. You hear me? I know you probably know who I am. You hear me? Listen, I love y'all. You hear me? I don't know you, but you probably seen me and you supported me. I love you. I'm that light-skinned nigga that been on Instagram with the missing tooth. Yeah, I know y'all been seeing me. Thank you. Hear me? I'm gonna be up there. Hold on, I'm coming. Y'all know who I am? Do you know who I am? No. Y'all been seeing me? Huh? Have y'all been seeing me? I'm just asking. Huh? I just want to show love.
You need to get up and
listen, this is my city. I just want to show love. I don't know if y'all been watching, but I took over the city in one night. I don't know if y'all been on y'all Instagrams, but a lot of y'all been supporting me. I just want to give thanks. You feel me?
Okay, we got it.
Cause we all we got. You ain't gotta be like that. You not from here, by the way.
Okay.
Just so you know. You see this. You see how they act. You see how, yeah, you not American, yeah. Shout out to y'all. You feel what I'm saying? Shout out to my people. You see what we can do when we stick together? That bitch ain't even from here. Shut the fuck up. You lucky you even got a job.
I got a bit of second-hand embarrassment from that. It's mad because he's giving it the big and like he's made it. Plus the fact that he's leaning on some geezer to state his fame to the drive-thru ladies, which is even more cringe for us to see.
I think it's the views and the overestimation of his fame that's gone to his head. He's got a massively overinflated ego over one video.
I spoke earlier about Teron not practicing what he preaches in terms of black excellence, and it shows at the end of that clip where he's hating on a black woman for not knowing him, almost slating her for not being like him, an American. Look at what happens when we, the black community, stick together. Yet he isolates a black woman because she's not American. It doesn't make any sense, does it?
I don't know what he means when he says, this is what can happen when we stick together, when he hasn't done anything or achieved anything. And that's still clear to see later on in the month, where he talks about being on top and not taking others with him. It makes him come across as a bit of a prick.
Niggas need to learn how to get to the top and stay there. That's what I did. I can't keep babying niggas and holding y'all hands, yo, cause you will get left behind. I didn't put myself in this position to have to keep helping niggas cause they keep falling off.
It's hard to tell if he's being serious, actually believing what he's saying, or whether he's just saying it to get engagement from comments to further boost his page as this trend continues. Sort of, when he changes the initial ramblings to motivational speaking, I guess. Make of these what you will.
You not tired of fucking up yet? I thought the point of making mistakes was to learn from them. Fuck is you learning? What, you just learning to fuck up again? You better get out here and get this funny, cause ain't nobody gonna do nothing for you. You ain't really proving anybody wrong, cause they already saw the potential. They just didn't want to believe in you, and they ain't expect you to finish the mission. Whatever happened to making niggas prove themselves? Niggas getting up from the table, they ain't even finished their plate. Y'all allowing that? Once I started to realize the world don't owe me shit, and don't nobody give a fuck about me, that's when I started to see my situation change.
These then come to an abrupt end as the beef starts to ramp back up on the Christmas day of 2025, where we see that the lanky one has smashed up Teron's dishes for not cleaning them, twice actually, again on the Boxing Day, just before the fight occurs.
Niggas wanna throw my dishes around like a little bitch instead of knocking on my door letting me know they got an issue with me. My plate's not gonna punch you back, nigga. That's 2 days in a row. You done breaking shit yet? At this point, I'ma assume you just pussy and you giving off broke nigga energy, but you don't wanna knock on that door though.
In retaliation to the first smashing of the dishes, Teron ridicules the lanky one for pissing on the floor in the bathroom, which is fair enough.
Decide to take a piss with the toilet seat down? Make sure you aiming right. At this point, I'ma question your sex life if you can't clear a bowl that wide. And you might need to go get checked. I think you got blood in your urine.
This obviously gets seen by quite a few people on Instagram, nearly 1 million, which triggered the lanky one, getting violated for 1 million to see. So he heads downstairs to the hallway and the altercation begins.
Before Teron actually started recording, the lanky one had already got a few hits in, as you can tell by the slight swelling of his lip and eye socket. Teron then records the video, which is the peak of the altercation.
Hey, this the pussy that stole my shit. Y'all wanna know? Huh? Look at him bitching now. Look at him bitching. Look at him running in his room. Somebody beat me up. I fought that nigga. Yeah. I fought him. There you go. Go get your pistol. Go get your pistol. Yeah. Go get your pistol. Want to shoot me? Look, he got his gun.
A quarrel that has been going on for over 2 months came to be concluded by the pistol whippage of Teron Bethea's biscuit several times over, judging by the aftermath picture here. It didn't seem to deter Teron though, as he keeps up the pressure on the lanky one quite soon after that video is released, and isn't ashamed that he lost the fight. He didn't lose it mentally though, we mustn't forget that.
So you went from backbiting to playing victim to deleting shit and then running to go get help. I ain't gotta do none of that. You see how I'm still controlling my platform? Ain't nobody talking for me. You couldn't beat me on a mental level.
From what we've seen so far, we can answer the questions fairly well, like who is Gunna Shicur and what his message is, sort of. But we haven't got to the other side, the lanky man's perspective, to compare and answer it fairly. Luckily for us, the lanky one created his own page on the New Year's Eve, which is called Keep It a Bean, where he shares his perspective of the fight, responds to allegations made by Teron, as we'll see soon enough, and he shows some displays of intimidation. Let's take a look at Keep It a Bean, shall we? The first video that Keep It a Bean, we'll call him Mr. Bean from now on to keep it shorter, posted is 4 days after the beef on the 30th of December, and the account was formed shortly before that, which makes it even harder for us to identify who this actually is, apart from being Gunna Shicur's cousin. Anyways, Mr. Bean's account is purely dedicated to this long-running feud, where he states his side of the story, tries to win over Gunna Shicur's audience, and as we'll see later, further antagonise his cousin for reasons relatively clear. The first 3 posts were created on the night the account was made, mostly discussing what occurred during the fight and how Teron is trying to picture himself as the victor.
This nigga said I took 8 quarters?
I'm allowed to address a man and tell him I want to feed. And after my feed, that's all I wanted. You never bought any dish in there. All the dishes that you say you got, those not even your dishes, bro.
Bean's side of the story finally comes out on his 4th post, and it shows us that this dispute has been going on for over 4 years, not just 2 months, and the pistol whippage was the result of this.
This nigga making himself crazier than what he already is, and it's really about to get spiteful because this nigga talking crazy and lying to y'all. First of all, I moved in that building 2018, 2019. My cousin was nowhere to be found in my life. So when he hopped back in my life, he didn't have nowhere to go. He didn't have no job. He wasn't doing shit. He was fucked up out here, getting beat up, starting arguments. So I let him move in with me. He was living rent-free for 4 years, and I was letting him rock. Then this nigga ended up living in the basement, trying to still be in the building. The landlord had to call the cops every other day because he wasn't renting a room and he was squatting in the building trying to sleep in the lobby in the basement. And he was calling the cops on Gunna. And the cops coming to my door and Gunna telling them he was me, and I had to tell the cops that he was me so he could stay in the building. You forgot about that?
From Bean's side, you can see clear justification for the outburst, having your blood cousin piggybacking off you for ages, getting you caught up in assisting in a crime, squatting, and to top it all off, he ridicules you on social media for pissing on the floor. The timeline that Mr. Bean gives us does seem to match Gunna's posts, seeing that Gunna moved into the HMO late 2021, which is 4 years ago to the date of Mr. Bean's posts. The story about Gunna being near homeless does seem to match too, given that before 2021 he was living in North Carolina, where we see he got his nursing qualification and was seemingly living with his parents, where he was chasing the rap dream a little bit too hard and failing until he worked towards his nursing qualifications in the back end of the 2010s. The story about Gunna not being in Bean's life does also make sense, seeing that they don't have a picture together until at least late 2019. There's things that we cannot prove, be that Gunna living rent-free. Given that we can prove most of Bean's story to be true, there's not much reason to doubt the other parts, and that is Bean's side of the story. A man fed up with being let down by his blood, tired of helping and forgiving, giving favours with no return in sight, and that boiled over. It was on the Boxing Day that the disappointment had become too much for Mr. Bean, and they butted heads. Well, more like Gunna's head got butted by a pistol. But anyhow, that concludes the story of how the fight broke out, but there's more to the fight than just a video of Gunna talking about how he farted.
I fought him.
Right, so the fight breaks out soon after Gunna sees the second lot of dishes being broken, early in the afternoon of the next day, where Bean approached Teron and asked him for a fight to settle the beef.
As family members, I'm allowed to address a man and tell him I want to feed. And after my feed, that's all I wanted, because you're not going to think you get away talking on the internet, and I'm not going to beat you up.
They fought a total of 4 times together.
Me and my cousin already squared up 4 times, which he told y'all on his page that I got the best of him.
And there was 3 before the actual fight occurred, and Teron seemed to lose all 3 of those. According to Bean, on the 4th round, before they started fighting, Teron had pulled out a box cutter.
Why you ain't tell the part that you pulled the box cutter out first?
Which before the recording, Teron had either put back in his inventory or had been disarmed by Bean. The box cutter has now been removed and Gunna starts to record. So Bean pulls out his pistol from his room, kicking down his locked door to get it, heat at the moment and all that, and then proceeded to pummel Teron, with the initial hit being so hard that it dislodged the phone from his hand, seeing that his thumb must have slipped off the record button. Soon after the pummeling of Teron's head, they part and Teron decides to call the police.
This nigga was on the phone, making a phone call talking about something. He picking up the shell case, he grabbing his gun, he hiding it, recording niggas' license plate. Why you didn't tell the part where you called the cops, bro?
As the police arrive, Bean leaves, gun still bloody in hand.
I walked past the cops with my gun,
and seemingly enters tenancy soon after. I just want to point out that the housing arrangement is rather strange. It's pretty big. It looks like a rundown dry house, or a halfway house as some would say, but it's actually a rooming house, or a HMO as I would call it, and we get that from this video here.
You see why I hate rooming houses?
And we'll also come back to this a bit later on, as it's important for the future beef.
Was it a deadline?
Right, we've gone through the fight, and we can answer the questions pretty well based on just the fight alone, like who won. But the quarrel still goes on to this day, and the most recent event only happened a few days ago at the time of writing this, in the middle of February 2026. Before that, the aftermath of the fight saw Gunna mashed up, but it didn't take him long to recover though, only a few days if that. The black eye heals and his noggin is reset, and for a few days, Gunna starts shouting in the communal area of his gaff. Why do fellas act like they got a tampon in?
I'm about to start asking niggas, why you always doing shit? What, you got your tampon on?
Which is clearly aimed at Mr. Bean and sends a few more sly messages like your mattress has filed a missing persons report, which tells us that Mr. Bean has left the HMO. The beef quells and Gunna sets his sights on what I can only explain to be growing his page. He starts to flex pretty basic things like withdrawing $250 in cash.
Look, take the card out, transaction, give me my money. Y'all broke niggas watching? Is y'all broke niggas watching? You see that? You see that? That's still a stack in there, right?
Hating on broke people again.
Why do broke people always be calling people with money?
Is y'all broke niggas watching?
Taking pretend phone calls and starts dressing like a bit of a wearing 2 sets of underwear and wearing what I can only describe to be a stiff necklace. The motivational speaking also returns with more hypocrisy.
The fuck is you hating on somebody that you don't even know? They ain't even do nothing to you. You mad cause people minding their business. That's the weirdest shit ever.
He states this despite the fact that he has several videos on his page of hating on homeless people.
Frosty the blanket.
They ain't even do nothing to you.
Get this guy. This nigga wanna sleep on a train on New Year's Eve. I'm done.
You mad cause people minding their business. That's the weirdest shit ever.
These questionable acts are what I mean when I said he was trying to grow his page. Being questionable, people are going to question and hate upon the man for his hypocrisy, his strange dress style, Teron's false sense of wealth and fame, and that's just a few to mention. This in turn unintentionally drives up the watch time, which is perhaps the most important factor in determining how well a video will do, as people will read the comments whilst the reel is playing in the background, and I don't blame them. The comments on Teron's page are oftentimes funnier than the video itself. His comment to view ratio is very good. It's about 0.6 to 1%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot of engagement, especially comment-wise. The better the video does in the algorithm, the more views it gets. The more views he gets, the more followers he gets, and thus he's growing his page. I personally think that he's doing some of these bizarre things on purpose, like wearing 2 sets of underwear to get engagement about how he looks, but some of the other stuff, like his hypocrisy, isn't. You have to dig pretty far to find the video of him hating on homeless people. Whilst Gunna is trying to grow his page, Mr. Bean tries to resolve some of the drama. He purchases a new set of china and cutlery for Gunna as a means of apology, I suppose, but Gunna isn't very willing to accept these items.
You take care of my nephew, and you mind your business.
This nigga still coming back here.
Furthermore, Bean changes the dirty shower curtain that we saw earlier where we got the explanation for the shithole gaff. Gunna doesn't seem very forgiving, so Mr. Bean turns sour and starts on the wind-up, sending hate to Gunna through his videos, calling him not solid.
You not solid. Not solid. You're not fucking solid.
Well, I'm gonna just leave you some silence since you're not solid, bro.
Claiming Gunna to be a deeply closeted homosexual and giving fair evidence, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I know y'all been seeing me. Thank you. Hear me? I'm gonna be up there. Hold on, I'm coming.
What's the youngest you ever dated?
What's the youngest I ever dated? Like a female? Like, what's the youngest female I ever dated?
What's the youngest you would date?
With Mr. Bean using the drive-through video as proof and Gunna having to state that he is seeing women explicitly, which is questionable. It's a bit of a weak diss from Mr. Bean, but a lot of people these days still hate on gays, so I can see why he used it. This was actually in retaliation for something that Gunna said the day before on the 7th of February 2026 about Mr. Bean's missus and her kids.
Since you want the spotlight so bad, make sure you go tell that girl you be fucked up that live in the projects next door to your mom that you be backbiting her fuck kids, cause they autistic and they got hospital beds in her crib. And you also told me you couldn't see yourself having babies by her because you felt like she was prone to having children. See, you failed to realize I got 100,000 people watching me.
I was a bit confused at first. Did he mean that Mr. Bean was biting the autistic children? But it means he was actually chatting was about the kids. It's weird Philly slang. This is the first bit of dirt on Mr. Bean, hating on severely autistic children, and Bean doesn't seem to refute it, so it could be true.
A lot of the back and forth has been allegations, with neither heavily contesting, which is strange. It leads me to believe that everything said by both sides is true. This event was the last bit of online fighting needed for them to meet back up again, back to the very same hallway, where this time, Bean comes by to pick up his mail, and the scrap begins.
He's not fucking solid. He's not solid. So what?
That's it. You stole my name?
What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying, what's up? You stole my name? Trolling or something? Some interview or whatever?
Nigga, you came to my job. What the fuck you explain
like,
yourself. You came to my job, nigga.
You talking about me?
I'm not worried about you, bro.
Alright. The nigga just trolling. I'm just saying niggas just trolling.
No, I'm just saying.
I ain't worried about that.
I'm just saying.
It's on my dick. Look, he ain't coming to get his mail. He talking about he coming to get his mail.
It ends again in exactly the same way as the first, with the video being cut off abruptly. Gunna returns again with a black eye, and the feud has seemingly come to a conclusion, for now at least.
There's two new characters that join in the Gunnaverse. Both factions gain a new ally.
Gunna gets Don Toliver Jr., who goes by Ghetto Reese, and they've been chums since at least 2016, as they have a post together on Gunna's page around this time. Mr. Bean also gets a new ally, who also happens to be one of Gunna's old friends. In fact, they were in the same music group together, KOS Music.
He goes by Dro, but with some digging, I found his name to be Dro Gallo. With each side getting stronger and stronger, the next fight will be some kind of mass brawl. Gunna currently has moved out of the HMO as he wants to avoid the fights so he can keep the weekend custody of his son. Bean, of course, left the HMO after the Christmas Day fight. And that, people, was the tale of Gunna Shicur. Though short and ongoing, it's interesting to see a conflict over so little, a tale as old as time. Let's try and answer who won, what Terran's message is, who was wrong, and why did the beef go so viral, shall we?
Hello there! Let's go through the board of the Gunna Shicur Chronicles and try and answer our questions and more. As you can see, we've gained probably a bit too much evidence to answer our questions, but ho-hum, the more the merrier, as they say. I'm gonna do it slightly differently today. I'm just gonna answer them straight up. Let's answer the first one. Who is Gunna Shicur? The first thing we found out about Gunna was that he was a rapper. It wasn't horrible. Not as bad as Lil Ma, Keddy G. Sipping on that lean was a hit of Keddy G's, but yeah, he seems actually somewhat decent. His lyrics aren't the best, but he actually has some kind of flow. Yeah, so his name's Terran Bethea, rapper who has a son and is from Philly originally, but was living in North Carolina for a while. He seems to be a nurse who doesn't make much money at all, $13 an hour, which is absolutely horrific for a nurse, which based on what he's told us, how much money he makes and the food he eats, he's a broke guy. So to sum it up, Gunna Shicur is Terran Bethea, who's a nurse who takes care of his son and was a nobody before this incident. He has a hobby which he tried to pursue to be a career in rapping and currently lives in a HMO. What we maybe know about Gunna Shicur is that he might be deeply wardrobed as I would say, or deeply closeted, as you lot would say. And next up, let's go for his message. The thing is, he doesn't really have a message. The only real clear-cut thing that he has shown consistently throughout and hasn't really gone back on is that he's against the street life and he likes the black community more than other races. He seems like a somewhat dodgy guy. When we saw he was defending the Big Steen, the man of the island, I said that he goes against the streets, but he holds values of the streets, such as he is against ratting, as most people are. You don't have to be the streets to be against that. But still, how are you going to say someone's a rat if they're talking about a nonce? How bad of a person must you be to defend a nonce? So this made me question this man as a person, really. He should have basically telling people to shush about the Big Steen. And like I said, there's no real message. Half the stuff he said, like we should all stick together, we shouldn't needlessly hate on people, yet he does that himself. He's needlessly hated on homeless people before and some random black lady because she didn't know who he was. To go alongside that, the point being there is no message. When we saw after the fight, we saw Gunna wearing 2 pairs of boxers and this really bizarre necklace. I assume it to be forcing the growth. He's doing this on purpose. That could go alongside the hypocrisy that we've seen. Perhaps he's doing it to get engagement and there is no message at all. He's just Gunna Shicur and it's all an act just to get views and comments so he can further boost the algorithm. Perhaps there is no message because he is not portraying his true self. A quick one that's not on it, who won the fight? Pretty easy to see that Slender Bloke, aka Keep It a Bean, won the fight physically twice, but we mustn't forget that on a mental level, Mr. Bethea won. Who won the fight in the long term? Realistically, it's going to be Teron because he gained so much from that. He gained probably 1,000 times his follower count just from that. Yeah, it's mad. And well, in the long run, it's a bit harsh to say, but Slender Bloke is only relevant because of Teron. Now, let's move on to who was in the wrong. There's 2 different timelines that we get given. We get given Teron's side, which was witnessed by us. We got to see most of what Teron went through. And we have Bean's side, which was all spoken. We hear it mostly in 1 video, 1 or 2 videos throughout. The thing is, there's been no refuting about anything or any allegations presented by both sides. The only slight refuting that we saw was Gunna says that he's not a homosexual. So on Bean's side, the start of this dispute and quarrel happened really around 2020, when Teron moved into the drama house, into the dungeon for 2 years. Teron, because he was living in the dungeon, squatting basically, he got Slender Bloke into trouble. Before he moved into the drama house, these two weren't very close. They hadn't seen each other for a few years, since at least 2016 I'm assuming, because that's the oldest post they have together, according to Bean, and this obviously hasn't been refuted. So Teron wasn't in Bean's life, yet when he does move in, he has to squat in his basement and get Bean into some trouble. Basically, from Bean's side, Gunna's taken the piss on a handout and he's been doing so for at least 4, 5, maybe even 6 years. Then there's Gunna's side of the story, which we got to witness. Well, the start of the beef happened for him in November 2025 when 6 doubloons were stolen and maybe some green as well. It then builds up with the double smashing of the dishes and the missing the hole in the box where he pissed on the floor. And that's what led to the fight for both sides and led to ultimately this massive viral outburst of pistol whippage and beatings for, well, mostly for Mr. Bethea. So we're talking about the main fight here, the one that went big. Who was in the wrong? Well, it could swing either way, really. But for me, I think that Teron was in the wrong. In my eyes, Gunna Shicur owes the Slender Bloke because he took him in when he was near homeless, getting into shit, and took him in when his rap career was failing and he didn't make much money, and according to Bean, he got into fights. Mr. Bethea got into fights. So Bean took him in and he took the piss on the handout, being dirty, which is why the dishes got smashed, and he nearly got Bean into some legal trouble over some squatting. And I'm sure that Teron will use the excuse of family for not owing Bean this favour. Family are meant to look after each other. But the thing is, if these two were just mates and they hadn't seen each other in, what, 3-4 years from 2016 to 2020, he couldn't use that as an excuse because you wouldn't do that for an old mate, would you? You would only do it for family. And I feel like Teron has taken the piss with this family excuse. They say that blood is thicker than water, but when you have someone who's leeching off you for ages, it's not good. People just using you for money from personal experience. I know what it's like, so I'm going to side with Bean on this. But again, you could swing it either way. Why is he so popular, and why did this fight go so viral? Let's answer that one next. To put it simply, it's this. $6 in change. If Teron didn't mention that and he just said, oh, so my cousin stole money from me and we lived together, the video would have done nowhere near as well. It's because it's such a small amount of change. It's a comedically small amount of money. It's a tale as old as time. People love to see people who are lesser than them. It makes them feel better about themselves. Like, oh, haha, this guy's struggling and crying over $6 in change and perhaps having some bud stolen. People love to see those who aren't as well off as them struggle because it makes you feel better about yourself. And that's really a tale of social media, really. People like to see those who are lesser than them struggle, and that's why it's done so well. You can go back years and years of watching people fight, the ones who have more watching those who have less fight. They're the modern day gladiators, these two. They didn't choose to be that, they got chosen by the people. This could be compounded by Gunna forcing the growth. Even before the fight occurred, he was saying some quite hypocritical takes and doing some cringy things, like we saw in the drive-through video where no one knew who Gunna was through this drive-through video yet. It did really well because it was funny. People laughed at him because he was being cringe and he was trying to show who he was, but he's actually a nobody. And that concludes the questions pretty much. There is one more thing I want to kind of answer or question, and you lot in the comments can decide, is what the fuck is next for him? He's got 125,000 followers off of a fight and a second fight. It's gonna get long for him to produce content because the comedy stuff he makes, or motivational speaking, whatever the fuck you want to call it, I don't really find that too funny. He's just stating things hypocritically and dressing like a bit of a yeah. But yeah, there's nothing he can do that's going to be as captivating as the fight, because he's going to try push his music as he's done already. He has about 6 posts in a row of him promoting his music, but his music's not that good. People aren't going to listen to it. He's going to try branch out and create other things, but it's not going to work because people want to see him fight.
At the moment, he's sort of lost his mind a little bit. He's posting videos of himself defecating, well, pretending to defecate on the toilet, talking about how he's pooing on people. Yeah. He's mostly making posts which I can only really call relatable mood Twitter quotes posts, and unfunny Twitter quotes at that. The stuff he says sounds like Twitter quotes, and they're a bit raunchy to say the very least. He said this, well, not exactly in these words, in one of his most recent posts. Why do I always have to request intercourse with a woman? Why can't she just withdraw my worm for me and put it in her gob? This isn't her first time performing such acts. She knows all the tricks in the book. I can guarantee you she did a lot with her last fella. Stop being foolish. A lot of the most recent posts, well, his new sort of content goes along the same lines. It's just him saying stuff Twitter-esque, just relatable mood quotes, and getting comically angry at these made-up scenarios in his head, and nearly all of them are about women and having to put on an act for them. I should have mentioned it earlier, but the motivational quotes that we saw in the first chapter go along the same lines. I think that this is his goal going forwards, making relatable mood posts, I guess you can call them, that and promoting his rap. I think he'll lose a lot of his following relatively quickly if he doesn't go back to the drama, if he doesn't fight his cousin again. He's gonna have to fake it, which is most likely, or actually get back and get back because he's a bit low. Who knows? Only time will tell.
And as for Bean, I don't know what's next for him, but he has a manager on social media, so he's clearly got bigger intentions. I think Bean's gonna force the drama onto Teron and they're gonna meet again. The thing is though, this can get out of hand pretty quickly and someone could die, because Teron, I haven't put the video in, but Teron said before that he actually nipped Bean with the box cutter in the second fight and when he was on the floor, and he only
got away scot-free because of that puffer jacket he had on. So things are already getting pretty out of hand. But if these two keep pushing and get more and more people on their team with Dro Gallo and Ghetto Reese Don Toliver Jr., things could seriously get out of hand and someone could die here, and obviously no one wants to see that. And I think we answered our questions pretty well. This is all pretty subjective, apart from this one and this one that's not really subjective. But yeah, I think we answered our questions pretty well, and yeah, cue the outro. Thanks for watching the video. Been a bit of a shorter one.
Whoopsies. Right. You know, as per usual, we should do the whole commentary thing where I talk to you guys and I tell you this and my thoughts on that. I guess I should do it. Just to summarize what I think of this entire situation. Or, well, public freakout. Now, your boy Neusxanity, you'll never catch him with a horrible roommate like this. Or any other roommates. Because we wouldn't be near each other. I'll be the first one to move out. And I don't care, I'm not gonna sit here and be prideful and sit on just this stupid egotistical throne that I just need to call the police every single time and hopefully it gets resolved. At that point, I'm leaving. I don't need to risk my life for something that I know damn well I shouldn't be doing. Some people will do that. But see, everyone has to understand something. Some people don't leave the high school mentality behind. And I feel like with these two, because Mr. what now? Gunna? We're just gonna call him Gunna. So Mr. Gunna basically had made this thing happen by doing this public freakout BS. And then Mr. Bean decides to counter with trying to make a pseudo public freakout channel where it attacks the main channel. And it's just like they have fun, and the internet just loves a good public freakout. They love it. Especially when it's live, technically. Yeah, of course. I mean, y'all had to understand. That shit was fun to multiple people. But when I saw this guy's face, you know, I saw the black guy, and I was just like, oh, it's a public freakout channel. I struck gold on Instagram. I couldn't help it. So, you know, watched it. Had a little bit of interesting time, and yeah. Basically, public freakouts like this are very rare. To me personally, there are a few accounts that I've actually followed since I was very young, into, I would say, my early 20s. Where I struck gold on Instagram. It would be like a public freakout account that gets a low amount of views, low amount of retention, and low amount of engagement. And I pay attention a lot to those. But the realization is that eventually, like, you know, Chris Morgan or the Bagel Guy, he had a channel just like all this stuff. He ended up, I guess, having a stroke and isn't on planet Earth anymore. He's not here. I never got to see the end of his story where, you know, he probably found some sort of peace. Maybe he did. We'll never know. But his story for me ended in 2019, and we never saw him again. Now, I would like to say that multiple times a day, there are multiple public freakout channels that don't get watched. Like, these guys have their own shit going. They audit and they, you know, try to have these schizophrenic rants, or they believe that they're like gang stalked or something like that. Something crazy. Now, I come across people like Gunna all the time. Mr. Gunna is not some uncommon case for me. Like, I come across this every single time. Like, I'm at the forefront of this. Like, I could find one if I do like at least 50 to 60 times a day if I was to like doom scroll. Eventually we'll get to that point. But yeah, to be short, guys and girls, I would like to say that this type of thing is never going to end. I could tell eventually Mr. Gunna is going to have to beef with Mr. Bean, and Mr. Bean is probably going to get very desperate, and he's going to attempt to garnish more attention and engagement. This is how it works. Public freakout channels die once, you know, the engagement no longer exists. No problem, no carnage, no issue. Eagles, they die. It's just how it works. But anyways, guys, not gonna send you off, obviously. Gonna give you my little advanced thoughts, and then I'm going to give you a lot more. That's my code word for saying you're about to be passed on to the other section of this video. Peace out on this section. Alright, y'all, you should already know we're like at the end of the video. So I do want to talk about a lot of these public freakout channels and these auditor channels. Now, this type of genre of content honestly is a dying breed. I always say dying breed because they're hidden and they're like shadow banned from the internet, almost like it's intentional. Like, people don't want you to know these guys exist, they're around, all that bullshit. As for anything else to talk about, I would like to say that one gold mine that I struck, I believe doing maybe 2022 or 2021, was I found Charles Pitts. And Charles Pitts is, I'm gonna say, to be honest, is an auditor more than a public freakout channel. And he kind of like records corruption from the police, and he really defends the homeless. Like, he kind of does stuff for San Francisco in general. He speaks out on things. He had a recent video that was like 2 months ago, but yeah. So I would like to very much disclose that I come across these channels and these Instagram pages just like this every single fucking time. Like, it's not a mere coincidence for me. Like, I literally can come across a new video, a new public freakout channel, or a new auditor channel that's like a gold mine. And, you know, for me, you kind of just sit there wanting to know about their side of the story. You want to know their perspective on what's going on. And you kind of, how do I say this? I kind of let go of the part of me that just wants to judge them immediately. I want to hear them out. I want to hear their side before anything else. But then there was another channel that, you know, he went viral for, Chris Morgan, or the Bagel Guy. And that guy went viral, and after that, all I heard was he had a stroke. We got some spin-off lame documentary probably mocking him and shit that barely got anywhere. Keep in mind, it was pretty much a fucking troll channel at that point. Like, they paid the dude to interview him or some shit to fuck with him. And he said, "Can I have my money now?" And I remember that shit like no other. And it's like, he was that prime example that I'm not gonna lie, I don't like to be the dickhead here, but I feel like regardless of his Elliot Rogers takes, right? Regardless of his little takes, he was still in the right. Because every single time when that dude had a public freakout, he would like be provoked into doing it. And you could just tell they were preying on him first. They were attacking him. You can't say you weren't attacking him because how did the interaction start in the first place? Ladies and gentlemen, no, the people who bothered the bagel guy were the same guys who were following him around. Like, you have tons of proof on that. And there's no way you could call him a schizo, because how can you call someone a schizo when every single time somebody like that is coming over and bothering you? Like, imagine that. How would you feel if a random guy keeps bothering you and then you finally pull out the phone just to show, like, probably 15 minutes into the argument or the public freakout of when you're getting bothered on a constant daily basis? Now, we had to honestly say that he should have never had the outburst in the bagel shop in general, and that's his fault. That's where he should have took accountability. However, with, you know, Morgan, he shouldn't have never been bothered at the level he was bothered at. Some part of me says that, you know, that one article that said he had a stroke, I feel like it's a lie. Some part of me says it's a fucking lie, and my mind is not going to accept that answer. I don't believe he had a magical stroke and just somehow died out of nowhere. Now, I understand he was old, right? But that didn't make sense to me. It felt off. Like, the whole thing was abrupt. Almost like someone helped get him to not be noticed ever again. And maybe somewhere in a part of this world, in America, he's hiding somewhere. Now, people say a stroke, there's two different types of strokes. There's the one where you kind of die, obviously. The one where you actually die. And then the other one where you basically have this heart attack, but you're still alive, but you're incapacitated for the time being. But I just find it very strange how I am the only one. I think I might be the only one. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some of y'all get the exact same shit as me. But every single time I strike gold, every single time on Instagram, YouTube, Reddit, especially Reddit, you gotta thank Reddit for that shit. I get to find public freakout channels that the world doesn't even notice, where a guy's literally auditing his little incidents, his whole life, making his whole shit to, like, in his head, tear down the government on some schizo shit. Literally, I've had those channels in my folder for a cool minute. But yeah, it's just amazing how that shit works. And, you know, amazing and sad, honestly, because these people, I really hope they get the mental health that they, you know, unlike the low-cal community, where it's not really a community for public freakouts, but I hope that these guys get the mental health and get their lives back on track without, you know, looking crazy and shit and doing too much. I hope things get better for them. But I am in particularly not confident that they will have a better time in life. Just how I feel on that. Because, you know, those people, we never see their story ever again. We never hear about them again. There's never a good ending for a Public Freakout channel. And it's just how it is. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I just never understood how channels like that survive, or they're somewhere else. But anyways, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
Hi, I'm Lucy Christian. I am the voice of Otako Uraraka, and you should subscribe to Neusxanity's channel. Peace out!